G'day, Aussie bonsai bloke. How you going? Well, guys, we're going to go for a tour around the property, have a look at the place. It's not the update you expected as far as progress. Everything's gone backwards because we had the worst summer and autumn put together on record. Driest, so we went 6 months without anything. And normally trees, even in the driest parts of Australia, rely on a bit of a summer rain. We got zero because we get sort of almost the same sort of rain in summer as what winter happens, but not quite. But anyway, we're going to do an update. There's a bit of devastation up there, so brace yourselves for a lot of death and bad luck. But you know, I'll show you some good luck stories too. So we'll go out, have a look around. First, I'll put you in the gimbal and then let's get out there. So we're testing out this DJI gimbal today. So pretty good. They're pretty cheap if you want to get one. So let's get out there, see what we got. G'day guys. Well, I thought I would start near the shed. Daisy bushes. My son Seth started those from cuttings a few years ago before he passed, so that's what they're from. And it gets a little bit of moisture coming from underneath the bonsai area, so that's doing well. So that's one thing that's doing well. Weeds are not doing well. Weeds everywhere. Oh, and while I'm here, I just want to talk about this gimbal just for a second. I wish they'd sponsor me, but it's so cool. Like, it's really smooth. I can move my hand around everywhere here, and the whole thing's pretty damn stable. And I can also move it up, down with a joystick, right, left, just with a joystick, and it'll pan around. And you can even set it on a 360 if you want. But I've got the mic sort of plugged in through a C cord. And that's making the gimbal, you know, fight against the cord a little bit, but it's not too bad. It's going all right. So here's the shed and the front garden. I thought I'll show you some success first, and then some failure, and then maybe success at the end. So here we've planted out around the house a lot of plants along here, and mostly they're doing okay. They've survived the struggle of the summer. I gave them a little bit of water, but we don't have much water to give them, so that's just what that is. Here's a mulberry tree. Probably, I would say, going to be the death of the mulberry this year because no water. Although this second one might survive because the septic's just here where the fig tree is, so the fig tree will survive. The septic's there, and the septic will, so septic's just down here in all of that. The septic will feed that tree, probably keep this mulberry here alive, and some of these things alive. The locust tree will probably survive. Then we have some drought tolerant things like the Westringia here. We also have a front lawn, which will be a sort of a spring lawn now because, well, let's face it, can't water it, so we'll put a little bit on it now and then just to try and keep a little tinge of green on it. And the rosemary hedge will try, that will hopefully survive a little bit because that's pretty hardy. So here's the garden bed here. Doing all right, a lot of flowers and things, some weeds in there, but I've planted some extra really hardy natives. So every time something dies, I'm putting some hardy natives in the garden bed. Something There's a acacia tree, big one. Gum tree there. Geranium. Sorts of stuff. Front gate. Oh, installed a gate opener from Kenner, which is it's pretty good, except already the cogs on it are gone. It's clicking and carrying on. So Kenner, I don't know, mate. I don't know if that's quite good enough, but the gears sound like they're stripping out already. But it was pretty cheap, and it came with solar panel, batteries, sorts of stuff. So I might put in the comments when the actual native vegetation project starts, because I'm just showing you the garden bed right now and the house. So yeah, so that's the house. Garden bed. So a lot of natives going in now. We mainly had mostly hardy stuff anyway, so a lot of it will survive, will be fine. And stuff that dies, well, we'll just replace it as it happens. Mulberry tree. Succulent garden. This was succulent garden. Cherry tree, which was planted to shade daughter's bedroom. Yeah, the gimbal's being a bit of a weirdo right now. It's cool, you got a joystick and everything and it's smooth, but it's not following properly. I think there's a button to make it follow better. Oh, that's better. I think I've got it, yeah. I think I've got it. It's me, not the gimbal. Right, I'll leave it like that now. So there's another acacia tree, nice big one. See the one over there near the stove pole? That thing is probably 4 to 5 meters tall now. Not long lived, that one. Purple acacia here. Some black boys planted here, which seem to be handling things okay, the black boys, but generally they are a wetter climate, so if they do die, I wouldn't be surprised. You see a lot of them around Mount Barker and Palmer and places that get more rain. You don't see any naturally here. So, I mean, I watered them to get them established, so hopefully that's good enough. As you can see, so we didn't have much summer rain, but we did have quite a bit of winter rain this year. Well, quite a bit, like at least average winter rain, and so far spring's been kind of okay to us, so that's why you see a lot of grass around, which is great, except quite a few snakes in here, so let's just hope that we're all good. I do have boots on, but I've also got bare legs. So if I step on one that whips around and gives a good old nip on the leg, well, you know, we'll be signing out of this video pretty quick and, you know, heading somewhere. So this here is also a fairly good success story. So these are the ones that we planted our second year or third year here. Third year here. So first year we planted a big lot down there, all the trees that you see down there. And they seem to be going fine. I'll show you them later. This lot here struggled a bit more. They've had harsher conditions that just haven't been as nice. But you can see there's still a lot of good foliage on them. See that? Still a lot of beautiful foliage on them. So they're okay. They're doing all right. Look at that. But there's some deaths as well. Right now I'm not really seeing any, but there is some. Some died. Some are very small, like this one. Some are struggling, like this native pine. A lot of those sort of gave it in this year because it was just too much. And as you'll see later, the trees I planted have actually probably fared better. Look at that one. Look at the base on it. Pretty cool. It's getting quite fat. Bit of a bulb there. You know, here's a death here. This one here died. But there's some success stories. Like if you come up here, so I've seen snakes around here before in the rocks, but we'll see how we go. If you come up here, look at this. So this tree died off, but the top is growing again. It's going to be okay. But look at this. There's actually a nest in here. So that's really cool. I'm not sure what sort of a nest. I'm assuming that it's the noisy babblers, because they make quite a messy nest like that. So I reckon. This oak's doing all right. So what you'll realise soon is the tops of the hills, because this property, it's a big hill, but it kind of goes up and down as it comes down. And you'll notice the tops of the hills have died off and the gullies and the hollows have done well. So the further you come down a hill, the better the progress. The further you go up the hill, the more devastation you'll see. So you'll see like this one here died. That's dead. You know, I guess it tells you what to plant, what not to plant. So some of them, most of the trees that are planted were actually 200 to 300 mil rainfall trees, and our average rainfall here is 320 mil. So they should have done okay, but we just had such an extraordinary dry period that even in the hills, even trees that were 100-year-old, thousands of trees 100 years old died. And you can see this one here. This is one that was originally here. This is a silver mulga, which is a type of wattle. Now, wattles generally are short-lived, but the silver mulga can actually live a couple hundred years, so these did not. These definitely did not. Do you laugh? Do you cry? I don't know. Do I shed a tear over it? Who knows? But a lot of the hard work that I did is still fine, because a lot of the hard work was planting these trees, and most of the ones I planted have actually survived, apart from the very, very new planting that I did. And then you can see this is actually a natural regrowth wattle here. Different type of wattle, that one. I'm not sure what. I'm not very good with names of things. And then you'll see too, like a little tree like this one here, actually it's got new growth on it. And down here, new growth, and it's actually looking pretty good. So if we get a good summer this summer, hopefully, everything will bounce back and stay reasonably happy. But we just have to hope for a good summer, basically. And like, you know, like the weather forecast on the Bureau of Meteorology, I think has already predicted a crappy summer, but I don't believe a single thing. I think it's a bit like the doctors, government, whatever they say, you just do the opposite. So the Bureau says it's going to be dry, so it's probably going to be wet, because they hardly ever get it right these days. They said we're going to get a dry winter, and I've got average rainfall just above, actually. So you can see the new growth. We're very lucky, because if we got a dry winter, none of these would have new shoots on. They would look bad. They pretty much didn't grow all summer long. I don't think there was, you know, they've basically gone a year without growth. In the last year, they haven't grown. So hopefully now, so you can see it's still a beautiful view. Look down over there. All the new trees down there as well. Beautiful view. Success stories are things like, you know, the native saltbush just coming up on its own. Look at that, brand newy. And there's a lot of saltbush growing. There's some, look at this thing flowering. This is a grass, native grass. So that native grass is happy. So we'll just do a bit of a walk around. It's going to be a fairly long video because if you want to fast forward it, you can. If you don't, I'm happy for you to watch the whole thing. It's a grey-striped thrush in there, but pretty hard to see. Coming down? No. Up. Yeah, anyway. Bloody hard to see birds with a phone. So what we can see here is we're starting to get to the top of a little ridge. So there's lots of little ridges within the property, and I'll show you what happens on a ridge and with more stone. There's just less moisture. The moisture comes off the ridge first, obviously, and drains into the hollow. And this is what we got. Bushes are dead. Some are alive on the back of that one. That one's kind of half alive, half dead. And this is the better area. So you can see none of these are going to reshoot. These wattles don't reshoot from the base. Once they dry out to a point that they're dead, they're dead. And same you'll see soon with some oak trees, some she oak or some casuarina. Once they dry out, they're dead too. There's no shooting back. But the native mallee will definitely shoot back. They're very, very hardy. And basically, it's kind of like a bushfire's gone through, to be honest. Look at this. Beautiful new salt bushes with little berries on, growing everywhere. That's pretty cool. Big box thorn there. I leave the big box thorns for the birds because the birds nest and hide in them and they love them. And, you know, I'll probably get rid of any new box thorn, but the old box thorn I'm keeping for the birds because the birds love them. Bad luck for the purists, sorry. Here's a big old mallee tree. Look at that. Look at that. Beautiful. So that's surviving. Probably a crow or a magpie nest up there. There was a beehive in here, but I think the beehive's gone. Not sure what happened. So we'll keep walking around. A lot of rock, as you can see. A lot of death here. It's all dead. This was all alive before. This one here is pretty much all dead. I don't know what they call this, like a purse tree or a purse bush or something like that. I'm not sure. I did get told, but I forgot. But that's dead. But look at down here, not quite. There's new shoots coming out down the base, so it looks like that one's going to survive. And they seem to backbud. What I've seen from them is they do seem to backbud. They got super stressed out and a lot died, but they do seem to backbud. And out of anything, they are probably the ones that seem to survive pretty well, apart from the native, you know, socialist mallee, because socialist mallee is 100% native to this area. Some of the trees I planted a couple of years back are all dead. I took pot luck because a lot of these that are planted here are bushy sugar, because I wanted an area with some big trees, and bushy sugars can tolerate a drier climate. It's just that this was crazy dry and nothing like what you'd normally expect. But there is success stories like this. And considering we had the driest 6 months on record, I think the ones that have survived will now end up growing into decent sized trees. They're obviously not going to get as big as a normal bushy sugar because they're in a drier climate, but they should do okay. All right, and then you got like a socialist mallee here, and you can see that thing's growing fine. Those things are hardy as. And if they do dry out to the point where the leaves die and the branch dies, they just reshoot from the base. It's like a bushfire's gone through, just like I said. So you can see grasses around. A bit less grass here. It's interesting how you get big clumps of good grass and then no grass. And this stuff here is not good. This is like a burr. It's all burrs. Because the previous owner of this property was that dickhead next door that cut me off the water. He was the previous owner of this property years and years and years ago. And same as what he's done over there. He overgrazed this to the point a lot of stuff died. But he's been off this property for a good, I think, a good 15 to 20 years. So he hasn't been able to stuff it up anymore. So that bastard over there, well, good luck to you, mate, but he's completely wrecking his whole property. So you can see all the new growth on top of the socialists. We've had enough rain for them to think that they want to grow, which is great because, you know, it probably took 2 months of rain for anything to show any sign of life. At one stage, it looked like everything was just going to keep going backwards till it was dead, but things have finally picked up. And you can see this is kind of like the line where you come off the ridge and then you come down here and you get to one of these ones like this that's just survived. It's green enough that it'll suck up some sap and it'll keep going. And meanwhile, its neighbours here, all dead. Its neighbours are all dead right here. So it's the toughest. What I'm hoping, if we have a good summer rain too, they've dropped, you know, I'm talking thousands, millions, trillions probably, trillions of seeds and leaf all over the ground to create a good matter for stuff to germinate. So as long as we get a good rain, I feel like we're going to get a mass germination. If we don't get a good rain for a couple of years, maybe all those viable seeds will die. Or I think the worst thing that could happen is if you get one good rain to sprout them all and then a dry summer, then it kills the whole seed population. But, you know, we've got to rely on Mother Nature. And Mother Nature kicked a brutal blow. But hopefully now Mother Nature's going to be kind and give it a good wet summer. So you can see that looks beautiful there. Absolutely beautiful. Look at that. So hopefully Mother Nature gives us a beautiful, beautiful wet summer. And then we can hopefully start recovering some of this. So, I mean, this stuff here, I haven't planted or done anything here. This was natural regrowth because I took the sheep off the property and it was all natural regrowth. And, you know, it's still sad to see it all go, definitely. And here you can see native apricot. This is what I mean about some success stories. A tiny little native apricot is growing there. Okay, happy. And another little tiny apricot growing there. And what's happened is the birds sit on this tree, do their poops after eating some native apricot, and this tree is just still alive. All new shoots coming out up the top. They do their poops and the native apricot drops on the ground, gets protected by the socialist mallee, and off it goes, just grows and grows. So you can see another big dead section here. You'll start to see after a while, it's quite normal to see all these big dead sections. I just want to show, oh, I thought I heard a bloody snakes slither off, but anyway, quite possible. Here we've got a native apricot, a bigger one. Look at that thing growing up there. Beautiful. It's got some new healthy growth, a really nice trunk. You know, I'll put my hand on it. Absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. So yeah, we'll keep cruising along here. I picked tonight to do this because it's just an absolutely beautiful night. I've got the mic on, so shouldn't get any wind noise. There's not much wind anyway, which is why I decided to do it tonight. Beautiful sunshine, beautiful new regrowth. I guess I could have done one before anything regrew, but then it would have been a really devastating video because things looked super bad. Our neighbours, I don't know if they've started going up top of their block now, but basically refused to go to the top of their block because they were so upset about all the dead things up there. Like, I've probably lost more than 20,000 bushes in only 30 acres, easily. But look at that, you can hear the birds. See if we can find something. So you can see the scenery is beautiful. Just looking around at all the trees, all the new regrowth. So there's a lot to be excited about with all the regrowth. And yeah, a lot died, but a lot survived. So you can be all doom and gloom about it, but a lot of stuff did survive. And we've got to look at the positives. Because if you just think about everything that died, you become super upset. So here, we've got a lot of saltbush, rabbit warren there. Here, we've got my favourite tree on the property, which is this really, really old. This is all from the same tree. Goes all the way up. So it's lost a lot of leaves, but it's alive and it's got regrowth. So we should be happy. And then look at this. I only noticed this the other day. Saltbush, right? But look at this, middle of the saltbush. Native apricot. You can see the difference in that leaf. Native apricot is growing out and it's alive. So that's awesome. So some things are just meant to survive through the harshest of harshest summers. And here we go. So there's our absolutely beautiful trunk on that one. Look at that. And if I scan, this is all the same tree. It just sort of jumps along like a snake and then cruises up into there. The whole tree itself would be 30 meters wide by 10 meters tall and just taken over the whole area. There's a bit of box on there for protection for the birds, and that's fine. Happy to leave it. All right, let's keep moving. Now, I probably, down there's some beautiful big trees, some replants. I probably won't go the whole way down there just because there's not a lot to see. Here's a rabbit warren here, and also I collect soil from here when I need to do something in the garden because this is just sand. But I've got to be careful where I collect from because we get these birds called the rainbow bee-eater. And the rainbow bee-eater makes nests like this one here, because this one was definitely one. Not being used this year, but what they do is they tunnel in, they create a hollow, and then they lay their eggs in there, and I'd say that's one too. I mean, they may have been used this year, but the birds have already fledged. So that's pretty cool. And I also saw a lace monitor here one day. The yellow and the stripy yellow black monitor. They can get up to 6 foot long, I believe. So I'll show you a bit of this regrowth. Oh yeah, so the monitor was pretty cool to see out here. I haven't seen an echidna out here yet, but I think I've seen a few scratchings, but interesting. So some of these here, these are 3-year-old plantings, and literally they've been around for the worst 3 years. So we've gone 200 mil each year for the last few years, or 2 years, and unless things shape up this year, they'll be in for another struggle. So normally a lot of these trees would be, if they survive, would be close to 6 foot tall, and most of them are still just out the guards or dead. A lot of those are dead. So that's, you know, I mean, it's something you just have to deal with, isn't it? What can you do? I water them for the first 2 years, and then the 3rd year is a massively dry period. So you can see that mulga's, silver mulga's alive. These ones are all dead, completely dead. They're not going to reshoot, they're gone. But I guess if you see everything at its worst, you know, everything's got to look good from then on, eh? So you can see some are alive. Even this one here looks dead. It's 3 years, still alive, but struggling. Dead, you know, a lot dead. Let's be honest, a lot of dead. So these are kind of all sorts of trees here, but all pretty low rainfall, most of them, apart from some of the bushy sugars. So I bought some socialist mallee from the state flora, and I think they're going okay, but the seeds that I collected from that big guy over there, I collected seeds. The ones I collected from him and grew myself, actually hardly any of them have died. I should show you. I will, I'll show you that now, because we're not that far away. A minute's walk. So you can see, so we have ended up in this corner, you know. I don't know why I say we're not going to look at things, because we end up taking a wide berth. So native apricot there, big blue gum there. And this is what I mean. This is why I planted these things. Some of them have gone nuts. That one is 5.5 foot tall. Beautiful new foliage all over it. Healthy as. And you'll find there's pockets. It must be like a seepage pocket where stuff comes down this hill, seeps into a rock vein or something, and that tree just seems to be in there because its neighbours next door are a heck of a lot smaller, only 2 or 3 foot. A lot of dead. This one here is still just alive, see? That's what I mean. Same tree, just barely alive. But that one actually had good new regrowth, so as long as we have a wet summer, we'll be right. There's another one which is probably 4.5, 5 foot. So it just depends on where they are. Keep walking around this track. I do need a leak soon. So in this area here, I planted a few. I can see about half of them still alive. A lot of these trees, these little ones here, are all the same age. I think they grew from the 92 floods that we had. Okay, so here are the socialists that I grew from seed and planted here. And most of these are still alive. Yes, they're not growing flat out, but they've had such a harsh life to start with. which hopefully will toughen them up later, but look at that regrowth. So they didn't all survive though, look. That one died, poor thing. So I don't know how sad to be because it's nature. I didn't put a lot of work into this hill because a lot of it's natural re-veg. So, yeah, look at that. Some of them, like that one, a little bit of regrowth. So I limit them to 2 years. I do 1 year of full water, 1 year a little bit, and then last year, well, water got cut off, so no water. I would have otherwise given them a little drink to try to get them through on the worst of the drought. I would have given them something, but ended up I couldn't give them anything because I didn't have any water. So here we've also got some bushy sugar, another bushy sugar, another bushy sugar up there. And they pretty much haven't got bigger in a year. Everything's stayed stagnant or died in the last year. These are like a native, I don't know, like a daisy bush maybe, but they're quite small. And they're very hardy. They die back to bare wood. And then they somehow regrow. So here we go, we've got oak growth going here. So since the sheep have been out, this is brand new. From since the sheep came out, which is 4 years ago. So that's a great success story. What's not great success is, if you have a look up the top of this one, you can see the grey appearance to it, or brown appearance. It's all dead. The one next to it's dead. That one over there is dead. That one's barely alive, but I think it will survive. This one here is dead. So we lost an absolute shitload of the native oaks or casuarinas. Depends on what you want to call them. And, you know, there's some alive. There is some alive. So it's not all doom and gloom. We have to look at the positives. There's a lot of new leaf coming out of everything. Things that did survive, a lot of new leaf. Even like these mulgas, look at this. Nearly died, but now all new leaf coming out. You can see the bright green. Look at this. So this here has grown from the stump back there. But then you can also see up here, look at all that beautiful new foliage all over that. Absolutely stunning. So there's a lot of success to look at, a lot of stuff regrowing. I'll take you up to the biggest devastation of the whole lot. We're on our way. So dead oak. Okay. Dead oak, dead oak, dead oak. And these were all thriving trees before this last summer. Absolutely dead. Completely dead. That's what I mean. There's a lot of seeds. What happens is when these die, a lot of seeds drop down, seed pods. And hopefully then we have a wet summer and you get a absolute shitload of young ones coming up. Because if that doesn't happen, the seed bank will start to go pear-shaped. But I think it'll be all right because, you know, that tool over there, Mr. O'Toole, his actual name is Toole, so he's a tool. He was on this property for a lot of years wrecking it. And yet, this property recovered over 18 years, so. And it's certainly a lot better now than when he left it even though we had a bad summer. So there's a lot of hope. Look here, this is all dead stuff here. Oh man, I hope I can get that. There's a black-hooded robin cruising around, and I don't know if I can get him, but you can see this is all dead. It's all died. It's top of a little ridge, like I was saying, one of the little ridges. And you can see too underneath, people say that the native bushland sucks all the water up. Well, some of the best grasses are underneath all this native stuff. Even when it was alive, it was like this. So you can see over there where there's also some good growth underneath. So all dead, with some tiny bits that are alive. Just like that one, tiny bits alive. And then as you go down the hill, things start to liven back up. So a good point of view could be, I'll just try and have a look. See, this is mainly dead, and then the odd one that survived. We'll see if we can stand on this rock and see. I don't know if you can see that, but dead, and then if you look down the hill more, it gets greener and greener. I hope you can see some of that. But yeah, the ridge is dead. Even this blue gum here died. And sorry, blue gum won't die. I'll show you. The blue gum has a good, what do you call the bottom of the thing? The stump, a bell? I don't know. But anyway, it grows out of its bum. Like a bushfire's gone through. And you'll see here, right at the base, all this beautiful new growth. So the old part of it's going to die. Oh, it's got some reshooting going on. Okay, some there, some there. Top's dead. I'll still leave this tree here because that's a great nesting hollow for something. But you can see that they reshoot. And a lot of trees do, but the mulga doesn't and the oak doesn't. And unfortunately for me, most of my property is mulga and oak. Look at this bird up here. Oh, I'll get on the other side of the sun actually. So we'll just keep walking around looking at this. So all this dead. Oh, I wanted to show you this one. So this was a really old native apricot that even survived the fires. I don't know, Rockley fires 13 years ago now maybe. And it survived that. But this year, white ants got in because it got sick and it killed it. Look at that, it's dead, completely dead. And you know, that thing's toast now. So we can only hope some new ones grow. They do seed pretty well. So now the sheep are off this property, more and more seed should just pop up. It should just happen. But you can see the view, it's still beautiful. I'm still not, you know, I'm still loving it. Now, if I can get around to the right spot, now we can have a look at this bird in the sun. This is a brown falcon. Look at that. Brown falcon. Not very good autofocus, mate. Anyway. That's what we got there. Let's go back to normal. I suppose not bad for a phone. So we'll cruise around here. Now you'll probably see the odd golf ball because I like to hit golf balls up the top of the property here. So there's a golf ball. Put him in my pocket. Look at that. It's a cool view. It's nice and quiet out here. It's very peaceful. You can just cruise around out here at night. No one to annoy you. Super peaceful. You can see all this dead. Dead. Yeah, tops of the hill all dead. But, like I say, some success stories. Look at this. There's a little oak tree growing on its own. Tops died off. Luckily for it got rain just in time and it's all green up to there and reshooting. So that was a success. Got rain just bare nick of time when it was about to just say, stuff it. You don't want to give me rain, I'm out of here. And then there's ones like this one here. You know, beautiful. Beautiful old tree with a lot of shape and structure and character. Dead. Alive last year, dead now. You can see all the needles just fall off. And once they get to that point, they're done. So that's pretty sad. What have we got to show you here? So there's, you know, a socialist mallee that I grew from seed is still going okay. Kangaroos also come in here and eat them back, which is fine. In some respect, I think when kangaroos come and eat them back during the summer, when it gets dry, in a way, I think it actually does the trees good. So don't worry too much, because what it does is it cuts them back, the kangaroos, which then gets rid of a lot of their need for moisture because most of the tree's been eaten off. And then the kangaroo doesn't seem to come back for a while. A bit smarter than the old sheep that comes back 10 times a day. But the kangaroo doesn't come back for a while. And the tree's got less moisture needs. So the tree survives. Then when it rains, it starts shooting out again. It'll sit there stagnant, start shooting out again, and away it goes. Here we've got some self-grown golden wattle, which to some people is not a big success, but to me, I had 0 wattle on my property of this golden wattle when I moved in, 0. And now in this one spot, there's quite a few. There's a brand new one, look, brand new. That's just grown. And look at that. One that survived the summer. Saltbush with its berries on. Look at that. Another one that survived the summer. You know, if anyone's sticking with me through this whole thing, good on you, because I'm just rambling and walking through the whole lot. And I haven't actually walked through it for a fair while myself, a bit like the neighbour. Didn't like to see all the devastation. There's a native casuarina. So I'm kind of almost talking to myself here when I'm doing this video. Just looking at stuff that's grown and hasn't grown. Another casuarina. That daisy bush thing. Look at the nice bark that they get. That's pretty cool. And you'll see down here, look, all dead. And then as you get further down, you start to see some alive. Look back this way, heap of dead. That's why I say I lost, you know, that everywhere. At least 20,000. Maybe more. Some, a good wet summer, they'll grow again. It's put it back. I think it's put back this re-veg at the top of the hill by 5 to 7 years. It's backwards. No easy way to sugarcoat that. It's backwards by 5 to 7 years. Here's another rock ridge. Just want to show you. Along here, we've got a lot of this prickly acacia. It's not the declared weed, it's actually a different one. although they look very damn similar, and they're both bloody prickly. They've done okay. Look at this one, that's gone all right. So they've done okay. A lot of growth on them. A lot of dead too, like those ones. There all look dead. That lot there's alive, or at least most of it. Just keep walking around. Look at that view. It's just beautiful. Such a beautiful, quiet night out here. Even through all this devastation, you can really appreciate walking around here in the quiet without too much to bother you. This is probably the biggest success story I've had with my very latest planting that I did 2.5 years ago. So the original planting I did was 7 years ago, but this planting here has been through hell, and this is the biggest section that survived. So you can see I planted a lot here, but a lot has survived. You can see a lot of trees growing, little ones. If I get down, you might see them better. So yeah, little ones, but look at that. A lot are alive. In this one section, some sections are all dead. You won't find a live one. But I showed you enough of that, so let's look at some good ones. So none super tall because, like I say, they're struggling. The original planting I did 7 years ago, they had way better rain, and within 2 years, some of them were 6 foot tall. So that one's 4 foot tall, so that's pretty good. Another 3 foot, 3 foot, 3 foot. This one is damn near 5 foot tall. That's pretty good. Pretty happy with that. Oh man, I got flies. Starting to annoy me now. Some flies have come in. Look at that. So you can see some green there. This tree here, look at that. That's South Australian blue gum, and pretty robust one. I was worried it would have to re-sprout at the base, but it survived. Some socialist mallee there. Look at that. Do a bit of a spin. Fire heat, we don't see that, don't see that. Also a couple of old trailers. But that's pretty much the only junk I have. It's not too bad. Don't have that much junk lying around. I'm not a hoarder. I do get rid of a lot of stuff. So look at this tree here. I'll get up close. Yeah, so another thing you'll notice is underneath these big trees, you'll see things like that box thorn there, because the birds sit and then they do poos, and you end up with box thorns growing. But look at that big tree, massive. It's absolutely massive for out here without much rain, and it's got new green growth all over it, which is great, because this here looks sick for probably 3 months into the rain. It was still looking really sick. So you can see here. Oh. Hang on, let's go in. You can see here a lot of those new trees growing in the guards. Yeah, so it looked sick for maybe 4 months into the rain, and then finally, they said, no, bugger it, I'm going to survive this, and it started putting out new leaves, so that's exciting. In actual fact, it's the first time I've really looked at it to see how it's going. A lot of birds have come back too. During the worst of it, all the birds were gone. Couldn't see birds. They'd pretty much disappeared. Didn't want anything to do with the whole area. Moved to somewhere with a bit more moisture, I guess. Oh, let's go over to here. So you can see it's a bit of a mixed bag here. Some dead, some alive. The bluestone, a lot of bluestone here. Now I'm going to get up on a rock here with potentially the highest point. I think it's the highest point on the whole property. So let's get on there. See that rock there? That's the highest point in the whole property. I might have to come out hunting for golf balls soon because I'm seeing a lot. I'm going out golfing tomorrow, so I've got to get a bit of practice in. Right. So let's go up here on this rock. There you go. So I'll do a spin of the whole area. So there's the neighbours, good neighbours, shit neighbour. Look at all these trees. Like I say, I think the highest point on the property. I'd love to have a drone to do a drone shot right now, but I don't. Maybe that's the next on the list. Someone wants to donate me a drone, go for it. I'll leave my email at the bottom. You can donate me a drone. Otherwise, it might be a while before we get one, but yeah. So you can see all the growth down there of the very first original planting, which did great for the first 5 or so years, but then we've had some pretty harsh years. It's sat stagnant, but it survived, and I'll show you that now. Let's go now, have a look, and you actually struggle to find. I'm getting tongue twisted here. I've been talking too much crap. You struggle to find one that actually died down there. It's actually pretty damn good and super surprising to me. I think because mainly it's on the flats. I think. Luckily I didn't scare any kangaroos. Yesterday there was kangaroos jumping around, and one of the mums, there was 5, but one of the mums had a sore leg with a joey in its pouch, a big heavy joey, and it had a sore leg. It was moving pretty slow, so I didn't want to stumble across that today and scare them. Luckily, you know, maybe they were in an area I didn't go to. But anyway, we didn't scare them, so that's good. Because the last thing I want to do is scare a group of kangaroos. But yeah, I believe kangaroos can actually be good eating stuff down in the middle of summer, because it does reduce significantly the amount of moisture that that tree would need. And I've got a theory that it actually makes that tree survive. If you left the same foliage on, that tree might have died. So here we've got another line that's cruising around here. And there's some trees in here. I planted them. So this is the most recent line. I'm still going to water this line bare minimum. It's been in for 1.5 years. I'm going to bare minimum water it this year. And this is the original area. You can see that tree there is quite big. And this is the original area. And mostly things have survived. Even stuff that looked like it was going to die, like this one here, and it was dead. But look at all the new shoots coming everywhere. Okay, all new shoots like this. Look at that. Beautiful. So a lot of stuff survived even though it died, if you know what I mean. It died, but it survived. So even here, dead. But look at this. It's a defense mechanism. Their defense mechanism. I've been talking too long. It's basically like a bushfire went through. That's how they're reacting. You would have said a bushfire went through. So alive. Some are alive along there. Well, most of these are actually. This is one of the original trees. And look at the stump on that. That's probably the size of most people's leg. Quite tall. So we're looking nearly straight up there. Beautiful new foliage on it. You can see that acacia nearly as tall as a stove pole down there. And then look at this. That was a bonsai, that thing. That is a red gum. And it's got a trunk the size of your waist now. And it's nearly twice as tall as a house. So it's grown mad. And I know a lot of people are going to say, you better get rid of it before it drops a limb on the house. But, you know, it's growing and it's happy and I'm leaving it. And if it does fall on the house one day, well, insurance can worry about it. Get a new bedroom. Look at that. Beautiful. So everything's fairly thin. You can see it's all quite thin. But it's got new growth growing, so that's the main thing. And even here, this one here looks dead, but look at this. There, new growth. So that's another success. So I would say this original planting is a hell of a success because 90% of it survived now, which means that it's established enough to handle the biggest, potentially the biggest drought ever, as far as a really harsh drought for the longest, well, not a drought over like a decade, but a drought in 1 year that just didn't rain. So longest period without a rain, 6 months over the middle of summer, hot weather. You can see too that there is a heck of a lot of grass up here. And I think over the years of this not being grazed, a lot of these grasses have now been allowed to grow. And it's becoming quite a healthy soil. Before it was compact, a bit like this track. The whole thing was compact like that. But seeing as the sheep are off and things are allowed to grow, every time something grows in it, like another grass, it softens the soil. It's actually allowed, which I don't know what you think of this, but it's allowed actual mouse plagues to dig in it, but they actually aerate and soften the soil, but then the snakes come after, so. Look at that. And then here you can see there's a water hole. So that's a success for sure. Look at that. There's your water hole. Beautiful. Maybe that's worth a photo. That could be worth my thumbnail. Let's try that. Go up, put you there. Let's see. I'll just head over here. That could be worth a thumbnail, this photo. Get out the sun, bend down next to a tree. See if we can get a thumbnail. Only problem is I've got no beer. Beautiful. Ooh, nearly fell in the mud. So as you can see, we've had some rain, filled up some water holes around the place, because I have been doing my little swales everywhere and digging holes. So that was straight across, but I dug a hole to trap the water so it didn't just run down the hill and run away. Flange mallee here, growing pretty well. Got new regrowth on it now. Some native pines, struggled, but there's fresh growth. Unlike this poor bugger over here, completely dead. So this one here was super healthy, fastest growing one I had. And now it's dead. And it was next to the waterhole too. Although the waterhole was dry for so long, I would have thought that it had enough moisture to survive. But it goes to show too that if kangaroos eat them down, some of the smallest ones that have been eaten down actually survived easier. So there you go. Maybe a bit of proof to the pudding. And then you can see along here the growth around here. This gimbal is awesome. You just walk around and it just follows you. Sick. Absolutely sick. Oh, in a tree earlier, I was going to show you a magpie. Baby magpie. See, I think this here could be kangaroos laying in the grass, chilling out at night. A few areas along there like that, where it looks like potentially kangaroos were chilling. So, the honey myrtles, very slow to grow and they were slow to get going, but you can see how green they are out of this dry grass. And they didn't look back. See that tree there is almost dead at the top. Almost dead, which is now pushing a lot of growth down low. So that's all growth from that tree pushing down low. There. Oh, don't try and film, Sam. Something like a bird. It's too hard to get a bird with a phone. Anyway. Yeah, what was I saying? Pushing a heap of growth down low. I was going to take a video of a magpie with its babies in a nest down the bottom of the block, but I saw it while I was there, but I was talking about something else and then I forgot. So here we're going all right. We've got, you know, all sorts. We've got 40 odd different trees, 40, 50. The peppermint gums did pretty well. Strickland, I think this is a Strickland. Stricklands have done really well. They've survived exceptionally well. They all have down here, really. Another one is a silver top. These are all silver top here. All of these are silver top. And they're all growing really well. They survived it, no worries. So here's the silver top here, close up. Okay, they're a bit slower, but they're doing well. You can see the gum nuts about to flower. Tank. Peppermint gum. That thing's probably at least 14 foot tall now. Quite a big trunk on it. And doing well. These ones here didn't like it too much. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4 that nearly died, but they do have new shoots coming, so they should be okay. And then you got one here that's survived okay, because I dug out a bit of a hole here and it's trapped water, which is just giving it that extra little bit that it needed to get through. Keep walking. So if you don't like this long one, I guess you would have been fast forwarding, so that's fine. But I just thought you might want to see everything rather than me just pick out the cream of the crop or the biggest devastation. You get to see the best and the worst. Here's another success story. So this here was a tree. When it first grew, it grew for about 4 years, and then a big wind blew it and just blew it out that way. But then it reshot from the base. So there's enough base left to reshot, and now look at it. It's turning into a beautiful tree. So you can see the trees stick out with this grass. This section here has always struggled more. This was so compact. It's literally clay, hard red clay, and you can see it's like cement. And that's after the rain that we've had. And that's what these trees here have had to try and grow in. And in general, you know, maybe 60% of them survived here. And they're just more stunted, but they'll catch up. And things will hopefully end up being pretty nice. Here we've got some honey myrtle again. A lot of honey myrtle I planted. And also a bushy sugar in the back. That big one's actually a bushy sugar. So there, that's a bushy sugar. And I planted that one in the back. And that's quite a big one, quite happy. So yeah, that section there actually gets a bit sand, a bit less compact again. It's still clay, but it's a bit less compact. So you can see from the top view there, that's grown pretty well. And then this part here, it's growing, it's fine, but there is quite a big section in here. Maybe in a couple of years I'll do a big replant there. It's just that I can only replant now about 50 trees a year to look after with water, because that's about all the water I have spare to be able to give 50 trees water for the year. Then the next year I'll have another 50 plus the original 50, so I've got to do 100 trees a year, water 100 trees a year, but the second year I only water them once a week, so it's only really one lot of 50 gets quite a big water every 2 days, and the other lot will only get once a week. So 50 a year is all I can replant, and I'm currently doing some near the sheds, which I'll show you, because that area didn't grow too well either. But I think maybe next year I might come out here and replant this area. Quite dense in an area or two. And pick out some super, super hardy ones, because these here are hardy, but I just kind of chucked them in willy-nilly and see what happens, you know. Throw the mud at the wall and see what sticks. Or is it the crap, the shit? I don't know. Here's a Strickland gum. And look at the big nuts on it. It's got nuts everywhere. It's quite tall. And then we got the big peppermint gum here. Quite a big trunk there. And quite tall. So you can see that. Oh, look at this. Another couple of golf balls. I'll grab them. I think the golf balls that end up out here hit rocks when I hit them and come literally flying back 100 meters backwards. So here, okay, we've got a bare area around the tank because I didn't want anything to ever fall on our water supply. So that's very, you know, that's one strict rule I have, nothing near the water supply. And what happens is the overflow here, and plus stuff that runs down the hill here, I've tunneled out this big section here, and I've got a hole down there, good 6 feet. I think I showed it in a previous video, and you can see there's water in there. That's probably 3 foot, 2 to 3, maybe 2 foot deep right now. Can get up to 6 foot deep. So that way, if the tank does overflow, which it has before, believe it or not, that tank runs off these two here and stores 16, also catches its own gutter there, which is 16,000 litres a year. And I can also run the house tanks back down here by gravity when it fills up. And then when the house ones get empty, I can gravity feed this one back to the house because they're all exactly the same level, which is pretty cool. So no pumping necessary. Able to just gravity it back and forth. Now, here's something that's going to be very controversial for some people, so block your ears for the next minute. But I did collect 3 radiata pines just to have one little tiny patch of radiata pine out here. And I collected these. I was taking a leak at work, taking a piss in the corner, and there was about 3 baby little radiata pines growing under a big one. And I said, bugger it, I'll pull them up. So I ripped them up by the heads, planted them. Now look at this. New pine cone. And that'll attract the cockies later too. But look at that. It's actually growing really well. So there's that one, and that one. And I've had them here for a good 4 years, but they're only really just starting to take off now. So that's, you know, to me exciting because it's out the way. Because literally after that is just bare paddock from the neighbour. Yes, that same wanker neighbour over there in the greenhouse. And it was also planted like that because there was a big shipping container here. I don't know if you ever remember, there was a massive shipping container there. And that was an eyesore. And these radiata pines have a lot of screening of things, so I planted them there so it would screen the shipping container, but the property's since sold. And now the shipping container's been taken away, so we're all good. So these are all sorts of trees that are planted in here. Some wattles, some banksia, some, well, there's a struggling banksia. It's a banksia, but it's struggling because it's not getting enough water. Some of these nice leafed eucalypts that you can use for flower arrangements, another wattle. And then look at this one, guys. This one here is a Western Australian kerry gum. And the reason I planted it here, so Western Australia kerry gum, which there's a big firefighting tree that's massive in Perth, Western Australia anyway, I think it's further down actually. But my point is, the reason I planted it here is I'm hoping that it gets its roots under all that septic and grows flat out and gets massive. And then I can have the biggest tree in Rockley one day. So there you've got, that there's a Manchurian pear actually. So there's a few exotics around the septic just because they get a lot of water. And I'm not a complete snob to all trees. Everything's, you know, worth giving a chance. But look at this section around the septic. It's like a jungle. Absolute jungle. And then we've got another native for the flower arrangements. Look at this thing. That there is quite a bloody big tree now. It's probably damn near 16 to 18 foot tall. Big rock pile. You know, there's snakes in this septic everywhere. I'm stupidly walking through, but you know, when you're talking to the camera and you're just looking in the lens, you start to forget where you are. Focus went a bit crazy there for a sec. So, and now another reason I did this, because I've got a busy week. So I thought by doing this update and we get to see everything, editing will be super easy. Just 2 files, chuck them on, and then join them together, done. Now this is a Brandiana, Eucalyptus Brandiana. I think someone Brand or Adam Brand or someone found this, I think in Western Australia, just out of the blue. Has massive, massive leaves. Look at the size of these leaves. Beautiful. Not everyone's cup of tea as far as shape, but I think pretty damn good. I don't know if it's going to flower this year, but it's certainly putting out more and more leaves. And they're looking pretty damn healthy. So that's pretty cool. I've got another one further over that way, same thing. But they're growing well. Massive patch of pig face here. So I'm going to spread this pig face out this year and just expand it. It's past its prime. This was all beautiful flowers. I'll try and put in a photo actually. Of one of the yellow ones that I had, a miniature one. But this all looked like that not that long ago. Absolutely stunning. So another Melaleuca of some description in flower. So bees and birds are loving that. A lot of honey eaters around here. And then the roundabout, well, the roundabout is here. So you cruise around this roundabout. I'll get you in a good view. Okay, on the right side of the sun. You've got to think about all this when you're doing photography. No point looking into the sun. Look at the size of that trunk. Yeah. Okay, she's already getting big. I've got a big hand too. And if we have a look back here, okay, this thing here is at least 22, 25 foot already. Look at it. Stunning. Do you know what that is? Have a guess. That is a Tassie blue gum grown out here at Rockley. Planted it at the off chance it might like it. And it's growing. It's getting massive. I don't know whether it's tapped into some groundwater, although I think groundwater down here is at least 40 meters down before it even starts, so I don't know. Very strange. And then we've also got another one growing here. And this one here really, I'm talking really struggled. You can see by the juvenile growth, look at this. So this one did nothing for years. But now look at this one. It's starting to grow. It's got adult leaf up top, juvenile leaf down the bottom, and it's probably, I'm going to say 12 foot now. At least 12 foot. And then there's another little bit of a planting. And now the new ones that I've just planted are to hand water with a watering can because that uses a lot less water. So there is a group. Just show you the other groups in a second. Seth's old shed that he had for his tool making. There's Seth's red gum tree as well. And he built like a little moat around it and used to water it, and very sad. But anyway, let's keep moving. We've got in amongst all here, we've also got a heap of new ones that we've just planted. I wish there wasn't quite so much grass. Some grevilleas. These are like a type of really hardy grevillea. Got quite a few of those, some native pines, some other things, and another big section here. So this here is kind of didn't grow that well, but really I didn't plant it up much right here. And now I've replanted it because, planted it because a lot of the wind comes from over there, blows straight at the house and just rips through here at 50 knots sometimes. It even blew the window, that last window out there on the shed, it blew that out, so I put a bit of tin up because it literally just blew the whole window out one day when it was windy. So there's another junk pile. So I've got 3 little junk piles. I'm not going to let them get any bigger. And then we cruised around here. We've got the dog yard. And I've planted some trees around the dog yard so the dogs will get some shade eventually. Some more. And more, so they'll get shade. I planted them in the dog yard, but you know what dogs are like. They friggin' dug them up. Even though I put massive netting around them, they dug them up. So there's another beautiful socialist mallee near the house. Occasionally get some boo books sitting in there and some barn owls. But I don't know, I haven't seen many barn owls around for a fair long time. I'll just show you the dog yard while I'm here. I made this big dog yard a while back. You can see the extra bracing because it gets so windy that it would probably knock the fence over. 400 square metre dog yard. They don't have a lot in here, but they, you know, just to keep them in. But they do have this nice shelter. And then I have this little gutter, which was Seth's idea back in the day to put a little gutter. And then that feeds straight into their water bowl off the shed, and it means that very rarely during the year do you even have to top up their water. It literally comes off the same house they're sleeping in, and you seem to get just enough rain and dew at certain times, and maybe you only have to top it up for a couple of months a year. And then they got this nice little area. Look at this. Pretty spoilt dogs. Full shelter from the sun, the wind and everything. And then eventually so this was a tree that I planted in here for them dogs, and then they would hopefully get some shelter soon. But they dug through the bloody thing and dug the tree out. So there we go. All right. I think we're nearly done, guys. We're nearly finished with our tour. There's this dog yard. Close that up. Yeah, anyway, I think that's it. So, cheers for watching, Aussie Bonsai Bloke. Please like, share, subscribe. Tell your mates about the channel. I hope you enjoyed this update of the property. You can see all the trees up there. A lot of success and also a lot of failure, but that's life, isn't it? Look at it. No worries. Cheers for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Cheers. Look at these two sneaky lizards cruising across the lawn. Dog's just here eating a bone. Just sneaking behind him. Ooh, what's that he says? You leave him alone. Good boy.